Meanwhile, explosive new details in the Russia investigation. Attorney General Jeff Sessions was interviewed by special counsel Robert Mueller last week.
We know Sessions was questioned for hours over Russia's meddling in the 2016 presidential election and whether President Trump obstructed justice. For more now, let's bring in Daniel Lippman. He's a reporter for Politico and the co-author of the Politico Playbook. He joins us now from Washington. All right, Daniel, how significant is this interview between the special counsel and Attorney General Sessions?
I think it's a blockbuster interview. I'm sure Mueller sat in the interview in the entire time. He doesn't usually do that with every witness, but this is the first cabinet member interviewed. There might be more, and he was present at all of the important moments, or at least many of them, during the campaign and the administration. And he has an axe to grind a little bit against Trump because he has been slammed by Trump over the last few months because Trump was mad that he recused himself, and that led to Rod Rosenstein, the Attorney General, or the Deputy Attorney General, naming Mueller in the first place. And so it's kind of interesting to see the fact that Sessions' recusal has led to his interview with Mueller.
So, and we understand, obviously, that the special counsel is not anywhere near wrapping up this investigation, but what does this indicate to you as to where the investigation is headed?
So, it's hard to divine the tea leaves exactly, but it means that they're getting closer to possibly interviewing Donald Trump. And Trump himself and his lawyers have given conflicting answers on whether they would agree to an interview with Mueller and his folks. Because it would be a big risk for Trump because, in previous legal interactions he's had, when he gets, when he has to give testimony, the stakes were not as high. It was only his real estate empire. Now, if he perjures himself in front of Mueller, that could lead to perjury charges or obstruction of justice. And so I think that would be the last step in the investigation. They just recently, interviewed some other top Trump aides. Hope Hicks went to, she's talked to them, and also the congressional committees investigating it. But it means that they're looking at a whole spectrum of things that Trump has touched.
So meanwhile, what probably would be the other big story today is that the government is back open. It's funded for about 2.5 weeks or so. Your colleagues at Politico spoke with House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. What did he have to say about the immigration debate? Because presumably that's what they're launching into, and they have about 2.5 weeks to figure it out.
Yeah, that was the big thing that liberals are mad about today. They're calling it the Schumer sellout because they don't think that they got enough for reopening the government, because so far House Republicans have not committed to hosting an immigration vote. That's what Steve Scalise told us, that he's glad that Graham-Durbin, which is the compromise bill that Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin have put in front of public consumption on immigration, but his members don't want to do any type of amnesty, and they view legalizing these dreamers as a form of that. And so it's going to require President Trump and other Republicans to pressure House GOP leaders to actually pass this. They've promised, and Trump has promised himself, that he would get DACA done by the beginning of March, because he set that March 6th deadline. And so, and I don't think Democrats would shut down the government again, because they learned that they could only do that for a few days until the political pressure made them relent. They didn't want to hurt their chances in November.
So what would a bipartisan deal look like going forward, and is it achievable?
So no surprise, but a bipartisan deal would look like, these dreamers get protected. They're not going to get citizenship automatically, but maybe get put on the road to that. And also, border security money would be, funding a partial wall. Remember, Schumer said he would be willing to, have a modest wall funding structure for Trump's big promise. Trump is not going to live up to the Mexico paying for the wall. That's kind of old news. That's just not going to happen. But I think Democrats recognize that they can't expect everything without giving something up on their side.
So here's the X factor, though, and Mitch McConnell complained about this. The president and what he wants, what he thinks is a good immigration bill. He had said in that open meeting on immigration that he just wanted a bill of love that he could sign. He would sign whatever he saw on his desk. That certainly is not what happened. And it certainly seems as if the ability for the Senate to hammer out a deal to reopen the government had a lot to do with the president just backing away from the whole situation and not chiming in. But moving forward on immigration, do you think we're going to get any more clarity as to what the president wants to see?
I think the White House might have looked at, they probably did an after-action report about how they handled the shutdown. And one of the things that was in their favor was Trump was not tweeting up a storm, which, made the focus on Democrats instead of Trump. And that was hard for him because he likes being in the headlines. And so he had to take himself out of the headlines a little bit, let other people get the spotlight. But going forward, we're probably we can't expect him to just be quiet for a few weeks as they hammer out a deal. He is under a lot of pressure from Stephen Miller and John Kelly, his top advisors, to hold the line and not, give in very quickly on immigration. And his voters themselves, they didn't vote for Trump to protect the Dreamers, although a majority of Americans agree with the Democratic and moderate Republican position on this.
Well, to be continued in about 2.5 weeks. Daniel Lippman, as always, my friend, thank you very much.
Thank you. Until the next shutdown.
Exactly
right.